Have you ever left a conversation feeling completely drained, like someone handed you their emotional baggage and now you're the one carrying it? Or maybe you've taken things personally when someone reacted in anger or frustration, only to later realize it had nothing to do with you at all. This is the challenge of understanding others without internalizing, because real connection isn't about absorbing someone's emotions. It's about holding space for them without losing yourself in the process. Let's talk about how to do that. We've all been there. Someone we care about is struggling, and we want to help. We want to show up, to be there, to offer comfort. But somewhere along the way, we cross an invisible line. Instead of supporting them, we start absorbing their emotions. Instead of listening, we take on their pain as if it were our own. And before we know it, we're drowning in emotions that were never ours to carry. This is where the challenge lies. How do we care deeply without losing ourselves? How do we support others without getting pulled into their emotional storm? The answer is detachment without disconnection. The word detachment can sound cold. It might feel like the opposite of compassion, as if we're suggesting that we stop caring altogether. But that's not what true detachment means. Detachment is not emotional distance. It's emotional stability. It's not about shutting people out. It's about staying grounded so we can actually help them. Imagine standing on a dock watching someone struggle in the water. Your instinct might be to jump in and save them, but if you do that without thinking, you both might go under. The better move? Stay anchored, throw a rope, be the steady presence that helps them get back to shore. This is what detachment without disconnection looks like, why we struggle to detach. Most of us are taught that being a good friend, a good partner, a good leader means feeling what others feel. We think that if someone we love is hurting, the only way to truly understand is to step into their pain, to carry it with them. But this is where we get stuck, because when we absorb someone else's emotions, we stop being a source of stability and become another person struggling alongside them. We take on their stress, their frustration, their anxiety. And before we know it, we're not just supporting them, we're suffering with them. And when we suffer with someone, we lose the ability to actually help. This happens in relationships all the time. A loved one is going through a hard time, and instead of being a calming presence, we mirror their emotions. They're anxious, so we become anxious. They're overwhelmed, so we become overwhelmed. And now, instead of one person needing support, there are two people lost in the storm. The truth is, the most compassionate thing we can do is stay steady, not because we don't care, but because we do. Being present without absorbing. So how do we detach without disconnecting? How do we show up for people without taking on emotions that aren't ours to carry? It starts with understanding that presence does not require absorption. You can sit with someone in their pain without becoming consumed by it. You can listen to someone's struggles without making them your own. You can hold space for someone's emotions without letting them take over your own emotional world. It starts with a shift in mindset. Instead of thinking, if they're upset, I need to feel upset too, try, if they're upset, I need to stay steady so I can support them. Instead of thinking, if they're anxious, I need to mirror their anxiety so they know I understand, try, if they're anxious, I need to remain calm so I can help them feel safe. Instead of thinking, if they're struggling, I need to struggle with them, try, if they're struggling, I need to be strong enough to help them through it. This isn't about being emotionless. It's not about being indifferent. It's about offering the kind of support that actually helps. The power of emotional anchoring. The people who are best at supporting others are the ones who remain emotionally anchored. They don't get swept up in every wave of emotion. They don't take things personally when someone lashes out in frustration. They don't allow another person's storm to pull them under. Instead, they act as an anchor, a steady force that others can hold on to when the waves get rough. This is what great leaders do, it's what great partners do, it's what great friends do. They understand that their role is not to sink with someone, but to help them find their way back to solid ground. And that starts with detachment, not as a way to disconnect, but as a way to stay steady so you can truly support the people who need you. Most of us don't listen. We're not fully present, not fully engaged. Instead, we're waiting. waiting for our turn to speak, waiting to share our opinion, waiting to correct, to fix, to prove a point. And this is where we go wrong. Because real listening isn't about us. It's about the person speaking. It's about understanding what they're truly trying to say, not just responding to the words coming out of their mouth. It's about hearing beyond the words, catching the emotion, the frustration, the fear, the uncertainty that's often left unsaid. But the moment we start listening to react instead of listening to understand, we stop connecting. Conversations turn into debates, discussions turn into arguments. Instead of feeling heard, people feel dismissed. Instead of feeling understood, they feel judged. Why do we struggle to listen? The problem isn't that we don't care. The problem is that most of us are too focused on ourselves when we listen. We listen while crafting a response in our head. We listen to prove our point. We listen to defend ourselves. We listen to reply rather than to receive. We don't realize we're doing it. It's not intentional, but every time we do, we shift the focus away from the speaker and back onto ourselves. Think about the last time you tried to open up to someone, only to have them jump in with their own story. You start sharing a struggle, and suddenly they're talking about their struggle. You mention something that upset you, and before you can finish, they're explaining why you shouldn't feel that way. How did that feel? Probably frustrating, maybe invalidating, like the conversation wasn't really about you at all. Now think about a time when someone truly listened, when they gave you their full attention, when they didn't interrupt, when they let you finish your thoughts without rushing in with advice. That probably felt different, safe, like you were being heard, like what you said actually mattered. That's the difference between listening to react and listening to understand. The power of holding space, one of the most valuable things we can do for someone is hold space for them, to listen without judgment, to be present without trying to fix. But this requires silence. It requires patience. It requires resisting the urge to jump in the moment we hear something that sparks a thought. Because when we rush to respond, we often miss the deeper message. Someone says, "I'm so stressed with work." We immediately respond, "Yeah, me too. Work has been crazy lately." But if we had waited just a few seconds longer, they might have continued, "I'm so stressed with work. I feel like I'm failing, like I'm not good enough." And suddenly it's not just about work. It's about something deeper. But we would have missed it because we weren't patient enough to let them finish. How to listen to understand. So how do we change this? How do we become better listeners? It starts with awareness. The next time you're in a conversation, pay attention to your instincts. Notice when you feel the urge to jump in. Notice when you start formulating a response in your head instead of focusing on the words being spoken. Then practice the following. Pause before you respond. Give people space to finish their thoughts. Count to 3 in your head if you need to. Let them feel fully heard before you add anything. Ask more than you tell. Instead of offering advice right away, ask questions. What do you think would help? How are you feeling about that? This keeps the focus on them rather than shifting it to you. Resist the urge to fix. Not every problem needs a solution. Sometimes people just need to vent. Instead of saying, "Here's what you should do," try saying, "That sounds really tough. I'm here for you." Listen with your full attention. Put down your phone, make eye contact, nod, show that you're engaged. People can tell when you're not really listening. Check your ego at the door. Sometimes listening means not defending yourself. If someone is upset with you, resist the urge to justify your actions. Instead, try to understand how they feel. The difference it makes when we listen to understand, everything changes. People trust us more. Relationships grow stronger, conflicts de-escalate, people feel valued, respected, and seen. Because at the end of the day, people don't want perfect solutions. They don't need us to have all the answers. They just want to know that we hear them, that we see them, that what they say, what they feel matters. We do this without realizing it. Someone is upset and we wonder if we did something wrong. Someone pulls away and we assume they don't like us anymore. Someone reacts with anger and we take it as a personal attack. We walk through life filtering other people's actions and emotions through the lens of ourselves, as if everything they do is somehow a reflection of us. But here's the truth. Most of what people say and do has nothing to do with you. Other people's emotions are shaped by their experiences, their fears, their struggles, their past. Yet we take them personally, we internalize them, we make them mean something about our own worth, our own value. But when we do that, we rob ourselves of peace. Because not everything is about us. Not every mood swing, not every cold response, not every emotional reaction is a direct reflection of who we are or what we did. Sometimes it's just their story playing out, and we just happen to be in the room when it happens. Why do we take things personally? Our brains are wired to make sense of the world. When something happens, especially something negative, we immediately search for meaning. Someone sends a short, blunt text and we think, did I say something wrong? A friend cancels plans last minute and we assume, maybe they don't really want to see me. A coworker is in a bad mood and we wonder, did I do something to upset them? We assign meaning where there may be none. We assume intention where there may be none, but more often than not, people are reacting based on their own inner world, not ours. Maybe that blunt text was just them being busy. Maybe the canceled plans had nothing to do with you. Maybe that coworker's bad mood started long before they walked into the office. Yet we absorb, we internalize, we make it about us, and the cost? We carry unnecessary emotional weight. We stress over things that were never ours to stress about. We walk on eggshells trying to control reactions that were never about us to begin with. Carry their own stories. Think about the people in your life, their backgrounds, their struggles, their fears. Every single person is shaped by a unique set of experiences that color how they see the world. Some people grew up in environments where love was inconsistent, so they struggle with trust. Some people have been through trauma, so they lash out when they feel vulnerable. Some people have been taught that emotions are weakness, so they suppress their feelings and come off as distant. Their reactions, their behaviors, their emotions, they all come from somewhere. And most of the time, that somewhere existed long before you came into the picture. When someone reacts emotionally, they're often not reacting to you, they're reacting to a lifetime of experiences that led them to that moment. You might have triggered something, but you didn't create it. How to stop internalizing. So, how do we break free from this habit? How do we stop taking responsibility for emotions that aren't ours? Pause before you assume. The next time someone reacts negatively, pause. Instead of immediately wondering, what did I do? Ask yourself, could they be dealing with something unrelated to me? Is there another possible reason for their reaction? Would they be acting this way regardless of who was in front of them? This shift in perspective allows you to see the bigger picture instead of just your role in it. Remind yourself it's not about me. Create a mental habit of reminding yourself their emotions are about their experiences, their reactions are about their past, their stress, their struggles. I don't need to take ownership of what isn't mine. This doesn't mean we don't take responsibility when we actually do something wrong, but it does mean we stop taking ownership of emotions we didn't cause. Separate empathy from absorption. You can understand someone's pain without carrying it as your own. When a friend vents about their problems, listen, support, be present, but don't absorb. Their struggles are theirs to process, not yours to fix. Recognize when projection is happening. Sometimes people project their emotions onto us. A friend who accuses you of not caring might actually be feeling neglected by others. A boss who snaps at you might actually be overwhelmed with their own workload. A partner who gets defensive might be carrying wounds from past relationships. Recognizing projection helps us detach. We stop reacting to what they're saying in the moment and start understanding where it's actually coming from. Let go of the need for approval. Many times we take things personally because we crave validation. We want to be liked. We want reassurance that we're doing things right. So when someone reacts negatively, we think it's about us. But the truth is, we can't control how people feel. We can't make everyone happy. And most of the time, their emotions have nothing to do with whether we're good enough. The freedom of letting go, the moment we stop taking everything personally, life gets lighter. We stop walking on eggshells. We stop overanalyzing every interaction. We stop carrying emotions that were never ours to hold. And in doing so, we free ourselves. Because their story, it's theirs. Their emotions, they belong to them. Their reactions, they are a reflection of their past, their struggles, their fears, not of you. Most of us have been taught that being a good person means being available, always. It means saying yes, showing up, giving, helping, sacrificing. We associate kindness with selflessness and selflessness with saying yes to everything and everyone. But what if I told you that true strength isn't about saying yes? That the most grounded, most compassionate, most emotionally resilient people are the ones who know when to say no. Because here's the truth. Boundaries are not walls. They are not barriers. They are not selfish. Boundaries are a form of strength. They are how we protect our time, our energy, our emotional well-being. They are how we define what we will and will not allow in our lives. They are how we show up in a way that is sustainable, so we don't burn out, so we don't build resentment, so we can continue to be the person we want to be without losing ourselves in the process. Why we struggle with boundaries sounds simple in theory, but in reality, it's hard. It's hard because we've been conditioned to believe that saying no is rude, that it makes us difficult, unkind, or selfish. It's hard because we fear rejection. We worry that if we set a boundary, people will be upset with us, that they'll see us differently, that they'll stop liking us. It's hard because we don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to be the reason someone feels hurt. We don't want to be the one who lets someone down. So we say yes when we don't have the time. We say yes when we don't have the energy. We say yes when everything in us is screaming that we need to say no. And what happens? We stretch ourselves too thin. We become exhausted. We feel drained, irritable, resentful. We give so much of ourselves to others that there is nothing left for us. The cost of weak boundaries, when we don't set boundaries, we invite burnout into our lives. We become the person who's always available, always fixing, always helping, until one day we have nothing left to give. We become the person who says yes out of obligation rather than choice, until one day we wake up and realize we've built a life around other people's expectations instead of our own needs. We become the person who people expect to always be there because we've trained them to believe that our time and energy are limitless. And the worst part, when we give too much for too long, we stop giving from a place of love. Instead, we give from a place of resentment. Resentment toward the people who keep asking for more. Resentment toward ourselves for not saying no sooner. Resentment toward the version of ourselves that we've allowed to disappear in the process. But here's the thing, that's not their fault. We teach people how to treat us. We teach them what is acceptable. We teach them how much they can take before we push back. So if we're feeling overextended, if we're feeling drained, if we're feeling like people are taking too much from us, it's not just because they keep asking, it's because we keep allowing it. What boundaries really are, a boundary is not a punishment. A boundary is not a rejection. A boundary is not a sign that you don't care. A boundary is a guideline for how you can be your best self while still showing up for others. It's an agreement with yourself. This is what I can give, and this is what I cannot. This is what I will allow, and this is what I will not. And here's the most important part. Boundaries are not just about what you say to others. They are about what you enforce for yourself. Because setting a boundary is one thing, but holding that boundary, that's where the real strength lies. How to set and hold boundaries. Get clear on what you need. Where in your life do you feel overwhelmed, drained, or resentful? What do you need to protect your energy and well-being? What limits do you need to set to feel more balanced and at peace? Communicate with clarity and confidence. Boundaries don't need to be dramatic or confrontational. They can be simple and direct. I can't take on any extra projects right now. I won't be available after 6 p.m. I need some time to myself this weekend. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to apologize. You don't need permission. Hold the boundary without guilt. People may push back. That's normal. They may test your limits to see if you really mean it. That's not a sign that you should back down. It's a sign that you're doing something new. When you hold a boundary, you're not being mean, you're being clear. You're teaching people how to treat you. And if someone truly values you, they will respect your limits. Let go of the fear of disappointing others. You will disappoint people. That's part of life. But you know what's worse than disappointing others? Disappointing yourself. If you constantly prioritize everyone else's needs over your own, you will lose yourself in the process. And when you lose yourself, you can't show up fully for anyone, not even the people you're trying so hard to please. The strength in saying no. Saying no is not weakness. It is not selfish. Saying no is a form of self-respect. Saying no is how we protect our mental and emotional health. Saying no is how we create space for the things that truly matter. Because when we say no to what drains us, we can say yes to what fills us. When we say no to things that don't align with us, we can say yes to the things that do. When we say no to the expectations that don't serve us, we can say yes to the life that does. And that kind of strength, that kind of clarity, that kind of confidence, it's not just powerful, it's life-changing. Emotional resilience isn't about avoiding challenges or shutting down emotions. It's about learning how to navigate them without losing ourselves in the process. It's about expanding our perspective so we don't get trapped in narrow thinking. It's about recognizing that emotions are data, not directives. They can inform us, but they don't have to control us. It's about valuing connection, understanding that we don't have to go through life alone. And it's about consistency over intensity. Real strength isn't built in a single breakthrough moment, but in the small daily choices we make. It's about understanding others without internalizing their emotions, learning to detach without disconnecting, to listen to understand, not to react, to honor their story without making it our reflection. These are the skills that allow us to stay grounded in the face of emotional turbulence. And finally, it's about recognizing that boundaries are not walls, but foundations. They are not selfish, they are essential. Because when we protect our energy, when we respect our own limits, when we refuse to pour from an empty cup, we don't just become stronger for ourselves, we become better for the people around us. Resilience isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending to be unshakable. It's about learning to stand steady even in the storm. It's about knowing that no matter what comes our way, we have the tools, the strength, and the clarity to face it without breaking.